Today, we're making Brazilian feijoada, a rich, slow-cooked bean and meat stew layered with flavors. We start with the meat, historically made with whatever pork cuts available. It has since evolved to include cuts from these categories. We have the fresh pork, which is becoming more and more optional, especially with restaurants. This brings flavor and collagen, which after long cooking would give us body and richness. Anything from ears and trotters to the more supermarket-friendly shoulder and ribs. We then have the salted and often smoked category for concentrated porky savoriness, salinity, and smokiness. Once again, collagen-rich cuts are preferred. We then have the sausages, can be fresh but usually smoked for depth, flavor, and aroma. We then have the umami category in the form of the carne seca, dried beef, which brings the concentrated savoriness and the majority of the salt. Now, I know the shopping can be daunting. It was for me. But the recipe has always been about using what's available. So grab a pack of smoked bacon and some sausages. Let's make something tasty together. Whatever salted meat you choose to use, you want to soak them overnight to control the salt. The next day, all your meat cuts in a pot. We add a generous amount of water to cover everything. No aromatics yet. I'll explain why later. We bring in some heat. If you're using offcuts like me, you have the option to strain or skim to get rid of any potential odor or irony taste. Lid on, we give it a head start. Now the star ingredient and the namesake of our dish, black beans. They're creamy, earthy, and subtly sweet. You can soak them for up to overnight for softer texture and shorter cooking time. If you prefer a bit more of texture like me, especially on the skin, we cook them straight after rinsing. Generous amount of water, still no aromatics. You can throw in a bay leaf for some background herbal note. You can, and traditionally you would, cook them together. But today, we go the extra mile to control the fat. 90 minutes. Now, whew, look at that. We skim off all of the fat and continue to layer flavors on top of that. Medium heat to avoid splashing, unless you're a really good skimmer. We add a thin layer of our tasty, smoky fat. Now we brown our sausages. It develops complex, meaty flavors via the Maillard reaction, and later, nutty, roasted notes thanks to caramelization. They might stick a bit due to the lower heat to begin with. Even better, we get concentrated versions of the two things we just talked about. This step is not exclusive to sausages, by the way. You can nominate any of your fatty joints to be the searer, to develop flavors for the whole stew. Once you have this beautiful golden color, depending on how crowded your pan is, you can fish them out. We continue to build flavors. Onions in to reinforce the amazing savoriness we've already built and impart some subtle sweetness. And we evaporate their water content to concentrate that sweetness. Generous amount of garlic goes in for more umami, more concentrated savoriness, and a bit of pungency. Bay leaves, you'll actually taste. They go in now to bloom in our fat, to impart their bright, floral, herbal notes. So why the delay? Well, to skim and control how heavy the dish becomes without taking any of those flavors away. But more importantly, many of the bright characteristics we just mentioned are heat sensitive. They become dull after long cooking. So you're left with a bit of sweetness, a bit of umami, and 2 leaves. Today, we preserve the brightness. Now, all solids in. we're left with 2 pots and a bowl. What do we really have? In our meat pot, a ton of umami, quite a bit of salt, beefy, porky goodness. In our bean pot, natural bean umami, subtle sweetness, and a ton of starch. In our fat bowl, smoky richness. No, it doesn't take 3 pots to make bean stew. I'm merely showing you, if you choose to, you can control the salinity, umami, texture, and richness. Now, let's build our feijoada. We bring back some heat and let our gelatine and starch emulsify our fat and cooking liquid, melding our flavors at the same time. And you get to control the texture. At least half an hour for flavors to melt, but you can cook it for as long as you like. Once you're happy with the texture of your beans and the room should smell like smoky bay leaves, your feijoada is ready. Please cook it.